Okay, Assalamu alaikum and good morning again. Yesterday we discussed about an overview of nutritional biochemistry and what are the different nutrients which are present in our diet. A little bit of concept about balanced diet and so on and so forth. Out of the nutrients, we already have gone through in detail discussion of carbs and proteins in your 311 and lipids in 312. So today we are going to have a discussion of vitamins and minerals. Although we do have some discussion about them yesterday, but it was a kind of overview. Today we will be going in a little bit of the details about vitamins and minerals as part of our diet, as part of our food as nutrients. So let's start with the vitamins first. As discussed last time, vitamins are essential organic nutrients which are required in small amounts. We discussed yesterday that vitamins themselves do not provide any energy, but they are essentially required for metabolic pathways in order to get energy out of molecules like proteins, carbs, and fats. So, by nature, vitamins are organic molecules and they are essentially required, and they are required in small amounts. We need them in very small amounts. The body cannot synthesize these vitamins, so it's very much clear that you need to have those vitamins from outside sources. And the most important of that is, of course, diet. Few of the vitamins are being synthesized by some of the bacteria, the normal flora present in our body, and sun. If you remember, yesterday we discussed about the synthesis of vitamin D and the role of sunlight in that. These vitamins are essentially required for proper growth and maintenance of the body, and also for the reproduction and lactation process of the body. So this is an overview of the facts related to vitamins. Let's go in classification. The vitamins can be classified in two categories based on their solubility as fat soluble vitamins and water soluble vitamins. I told you last time that fat soluble vitamins, they do store in the tissues because of their nature. So any excessive intake of the fat soluble vitamins is also related to different clinical conditions. While in case of the water soluble vitamins, as they are water soluble, so they are normally not stored in the tissues, and they are excreted out constantly. So in that case, there is no such harm of excess dosage or overdosage of water soluble vitamins, and you need a constant supply of them as well. So in case of the fat soluble vitamins, we have vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E, and K. And in case of the water soluble vitamins, we have vitamin B complex, which I told you yesterday that it's a group of vitamin B family, collectively being called as B complex, like B1, B2, B6, and B12. And then we have, niacin, folic acid, they are all in this. And then vitamin C is also an important water soluble vitamin. So let's start with the fat soluble vitamins first. And out of the fat soluble vitamin, we are going to start with vitamin A. So, what we are going to discuss under each of these vitamins is about a little bit of its functions, that what they do, or and a little bit of discussion on the clinical conditions related to the deficiency signs and some of the sources. So Sources we have discussed yesterday as well, and you will find out, uh, more about that if you go and search on in different books and on different other resources. But I'll be giving some more information on the clinical conditions which are related to the deficiency of these vitamins. So, in terms of the function, vitamin A is required for the development of the healthy skins and the nerve tissues, and that helps in building up the resistance against infection as well. Because anything that is related to development of healthy skin is automatically building up your resistance for the infection, because skin is the first protective layer, or the first protective covering against any external microorganisms. So it also has got a very important function in eyesight and bone formation. Specifically, when we say eyesight, vitamin A is essentially required for the property of night vision, which is another very important characteristic. All animals, they require vitamin A, and it is important in ration of the pregnant females as well, because they have the developing babies and they do need vitamin A. As a in terms of sources, the whole milk, carotene containing vegetables, animal body oils, cod liver oil, fish, tuna, and many other sources of vitamin A. You must have heard of carrot as a good source of the vitamin A. I was discussing that yesterday as well. Technically, carrot doesn't contain vitamin A, rather it contains the carotenoids, which are the precursors of vitamin A. So any vegetable uh, source having carotenoids can be taken in, and carotenoids being the precursors will be utilized in the body to synthesize vitamin A within the body. When it comes to the deficiency sign, if you look at the functions, it will give you an idea about what sort of clinical conditions are associated. It might result in a retarded growth, especially in youngs, the development of specular condition around the eyes known as xerophthalmia, and night blindness, and also it results in reproductive disorders. So these are the few of the clinical conditions associated with the deficiency of vitamin A. Regarding vitamin E, it is also required for normal reproduction. On top of this, if you remember, I told you yesterday that vitamin E is also required for the healthy, normal skin, and for the membranes of, cells. And the sources include synthetic for the poultry, cereal grains, white germ oil, green forages, protein concentrates, and most of the green vegetables as well. So vitamin E is rapidly destroyed in the rancidity or spoiled fats. That's why sometimes they may cause white muscle disease, which is a specific disease caused as a result of the rancidity of the spoiled fats. Utilization of vitamin E is also dependent on uh, presence of selenium metal in the body as well. So as a result of the deficiency of the vitamin E, there is poor growth. There is a disease called crazy chick disease, which is a muscular dystrophy. And as I just mentioned, white muscle disease in ruminants and swine, and stiff limb disease affecting the nerves and the muscles. So that's about vitamin E. The next of the category of the fat soluble vitamin is vitamin D. The sources include whole milk, sun, cured hays, forage, crops, all dairy products, uh, fish, you know. liver oil, etc., etc. The function involves that vitamin D is a very important essential part of calcium phosphorus metabolism in the body. And we know that calcium phosphorus metabolism is essential for the normal healthy bones and teeth. So the presence of the vitamin D will be essentially needed in order to have the proper balance of calcium and phosphorus absorption and resorption in the bones. As a result of that, the deficiency would result in retarded growth because of affecting the calcium and phosphorus resorption and absorption, and causing rickets in children, osteoporosis in adults, and all other related disorders with the bones and the teeth. The next of the fat soluble vitamin is vitamin K. Vitamin K is present mainly in the green leafy vegetables. It's also available in the fish, soya bean, and some uh, uh, amount of that is also synthesized in our intestine, as I mentioned earlier, by some of the normal flora in our body. The functions include that there may be many functions, but one of the most important function of the vitamin K is its role in the blood clotting mechanism. And we know that the blood clotting mechanism is an essential prevention towards the blood loss. So as a result of the deficiency of the vitamin K, it affects that characteristic of blood clotting. So blood loses its power to clot, or it takes more time to, clot. And as a result of that, any hemorrhage or any blood loss can result in the loss of life, and a little bit of hemorrhage can result from slight wounds and bruises because of the incapability of the body to do the clotting as normally being done. Now, coming to the water soluble vitamins, the first of the water soluble vitamin is vitamin C, which is also being called as ascorbic acid. Uh, Mentioned you yesterday that most of the citrus fruits are vitamin C source, and in terms of the function, it's having an effect on the metabolism of calcium in the body, and it is also a strong antioxidant, and it also has got a very important role in developing immunity of the body, as mentioned yesterday. The deficiency will result uh, because of uh, the deficiency of vitamin C would have the signs which are most of the time non-demonstrated in the livestock, but in human deficiency, there is a particular disease called scurvy, which is actually swollen and painful joints and bleeding gums and brittleness of the bones. One more, I would say, deficiency sign would be the lack of immunity to catch the infections, because this vitamin is playing a important role in development of the immunity. Now, going to the vitamin B complex and a little bit of more detail about the different members of the vitamin B complex. As I mentioned last time, that most of these vitamins in this vitamin B complex are essentially up to the definition of what we said in the very first slide, that they are essential molecules which are required for the proper metabolism. Now, most of the member of this vitamin B complex are actually from this category. As you can see, for the vitamin B1, it is required for the normal metabolism of carbohydrates in the body. So in this case, if we have definitely any sort of deficiency of this, would result in the deficiency or malnutrition issues in terms of the metabolism of the carbs. So vitamin B1, which is being called as thiamine, it's present in the whole grain, uh, embryo, green forage, milk. and some of that is also synthesized in the body, in our gut as well. So the deficiency will result in the loss of appetite, muscular weakness, severe nervous disorders, general weakness, and wasting, and a disease called beriberi. So vitamin B1, thiamine, is the first member of vitamin B complex. Then we have vitamin B2, which is called as riboflavin. The sources include pretty much same milk and dairy byproduct, yeast, green vegetables, and whole grains, etc., etc. Some of that is also being synthesized in the gut. Functions involve that it's required for normal embryo development and also has an important role in metabolism of amino acids and carbs, just like B1, which was also having a role in the metabolism of the carbs. The deficiency of this particular vitamin B2 would result in poor reproductive characterized by small litters and deformed young babies, curvy to paralysis in chicks, digestive disturbances of all type, and general weakness and eye abnormalities. So these are the few of the deficiency signs related to vitamin B12 or riboflavin. Okay, before I jump on to the second part of the discussion about minerals, just to let you know that you might have noticed that whenever there is an infection of any kind, any bacterial infection mainly, we use antibiotics to take care of that bacterial infection. And as a result of that antibiotics, sometimes you might have seen that there is some disturbance on our GI tract, gastrointestinal tract. And some of the physicians, they prescribe multivitamins along with those antibiotics. The reason is that when you take antibiotics, they're going to kill that particular microorganism which is causing the infection, but it's also going to affect the normal flora of your intestine, which are doing a helpful job for you by synthesizing some of the members of vitamin B complex. And that's how it affects the gastrointestinal tract. So in this case, you need to have a source of multivitamins because the body own production of multivitamin is being impaired by the use of the antibiotics. Okay, let's go to the next part of the discussion about the minerals. Essentially, minerals are the inorganic nutrients. So the difference between the vitamins, that they were essential organic nutrients, while the minerals are essential inorganic nutrients, and they're also required in a small amount. There are roughly 20 minerals uh, which which have different functions and role within the body, and in generally they are also required for growth, maintenance, reproduction, and lactation. So we divide minerals in two categories as macro minerals and micro minerals. I'm sure that you would understand what actually macro and micro minerals are. They are in terms of uh, the amount required for them to be there in your diet, that or the role that they play in terms of their function. So the macro minerals include calcium, phosphorus, potassium, sulfur, sodium, chlorine, and magnesium. So let's start with the calcium first. Sources are milk, oyster shells, and limestone. Functions include major component of the bones and teeth and essential in blood coagulation as well. So along with vitamin K, calcium is also has got its function in this blood clotting mechanism. Calcium is also involved in the nerve and muscle function and also in the milk and egg production. So as a result of the deficiency of that, of course, the growth will be affected, deformed bones in the young, like rickets, and osteoporosis in adults. And for the egg-laying animals, their shells will be soft instead of the normal shells. because of the lack of calcium. So then we have two of the minerals collectively being studied as sodium chloride, because the most common source of both of them is through the table salt. So that's why we consider them together as NaCl. Sources, as I said, salt and all kind of salt supplements, and naturally, uh, the food that contains the salt in it. In terms of its function, uh, sodium and chloride both are required for the formation and retention concentration, like the balance between the intracellular and the extracellular fluid that results in the development of a balanced osmotic pressure, body fluids, and also the pH. So they have very, very important role. You have to keep that sodium and chloride and also potassium, if you can include. These mineral balance is very, very important in terms of maintaining the osmotic pressure of the body fluids, such as protoplasm and blood. Important in the formation of digestive juices as well, which are important part of your digestive system, and they function in the nerve and muscle activity as well. The deficiency of them will result in poor condition and depressed appetite. Most farm-produced feeds are deficient in these two minerals. This is one important thing. Then we have phosphorus. Phosphorus is pretty much related to calcium in its role. Sources are dicalcium phosphate, bone meals, low fluorine phosphates, etc. Their functions include, uh, along with the calcium, for the formation of bones, teeth, and body fluids, required for metabolism of the cell and during the cell respiration and the normal cell division. The deficiency sign includes pretty much similar, as I said, to calcium, lack of appetite, poor reproduction, and also, unthrifty appearance and rickets and osteoporosis in some cases as well, because it's related with calcium. Then we have potassium. Sources are grains and some of the vegetables, and also cod liver oil and fish. Then we have the functions. Potassium is actually having a function in retention and formation of the body fluids, maintaining of the pH, concentration and osmotic pressure, and also playing some role in the digestion process within the intestine. The deficiency sign includes non-specific one, and unlikely under most conditions. It's not diagnosed very easily, but may have decreased feed consumption and loss of appetite and overall decrease in the efficiency of the body. Manganese is most trace mineral salts are the source of that. Functions, they are involved in the fetal development of the fetus, milk production, and skeleton development. The deficiency sign of the manganese include abortion, reduced fertility, deformed growth, or poor growth. Then we have micro minerals. In the category of the micro minerals, we have iodine, copper, iron, selenium, magnesium, molybdenum, and zinc. So a little bit of discussion about micro minerals as well. Let's start with the copper. Copper is, again, most of these minerals are coming from the mineral salts. So copper is also coming from the mineral salts that we have in our food, and naturally present in other natural foods as well. The functions include that this is or this must be present in the animal tissues for the proper utilization of iron. So sometimes, one of the mineral is essentially required for the utilization of the other mineral. So this is the classical example. We know that iron is required for the hemoglobin. So obviously, if copper is essentially required for the proper utilization of iron, that means it has the role in the hemoglobin formation. It also has a role in synthesis of the keratin, which is the specific protein of your nails and hair. Deficiency signs include poor pigmentation of feather, because these deficiency we are not only talking with reference to the human, we are talking in general. So that's why you can see there are particular deficiencies in relation to other animals as well, and a lack of muscle coordination and anemia in certain cases because copper is associated with the fat utilization. Then itself iron, um, very important and essential for function of every organ and tissue of the body, because iron is the key part of hemoglobin. uh, so deficiency of that will directly related to the condition called anemia, or it specific we say that nutritional anemia because of the lack of iron in the diet, and then pale eyelids, ears, and nose. These are all the secondary sign of anemia. We all know about that. Then cobalt, again, salt-containing cobalts are the source of that. Legumes may have some of that. Cobalt is required as a nutrient for microorganisms in ruminants, and thereby it aids in the synthesis of vitamin B12 within the gut. This cobalt is an important part of the synthesis of those vitamin B complex member within the gut. Also, the diet are supplemented with vitamin B12 as well. The deficiency sign includes lack of appetite, loss of weight, rough hair coat, anemia, decreased milk and milk. So you might have seen that from these, deficiency signs, you have got a pretty much understanding that most of the time when we have uh, disturbed metabolism, we have weight loss issues, we have poor retarded growth issues, then why the multivitamins are being given? Because multivitamins, they generally uh, do not give energy, but they are required for energy metabolism. And when we say multivitamins, they do have minerals in it as well. Don't forget. So then we have magnesium. Again, magnesium is similar to calcium and phosphorus. The deficiency signs are, having effects on the heartbeat, irregularities in the heartbeat, and severe kidney damage as well. So now, in this case, let me summarize that all these minerals and vitamins, they are essential part of your nutrition. They themselves, as I said, do not produce any energy, but you have noticed that they have a very integral role in proper energy metabolism. And when you will study the metabolism in your next year 411 and 412, you will come to know that these uh, enzymes, sorry, these vitamins and specifically minerals, you will see their role in different metabolic pathways and how essential they are. And in their absence, the entire metabolic machinery is gonna badly affected. So this is just a summary or just a quick memorization of what you have studied earlier on, like night blindness related to deficiency of vitamin A, bleedy gums and scurvy, vitamin C, lemons because of vitamin D and E, blood clotting is affected by deficiency of vitamin K, poor posture by calcium and phosphorus because of impaired growth of the bones, and reproductive dysfunction because of the B2 and vitamin A. So that's a pretty much review what we have studied. It's just going through that. You can go through that quickly. What we have studied, it's a review of all that. So with this, we have completed the minerals and vitamins, and with this, we have completed the part of the nutritional biochemistry. Now the session is open for the question. If you have any question, please raise your hand. Okay, so if there is no question, we're gonna stop today's class, and inshallah, we will have our next lab on Wednesday. And I think this confusion has been sorted out. The lab is only one day, which is Wednesday, and inshallah, our next theory class on Thursday. Thank you very much, and Khuda Hafiz.